Goeiedag! Good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And it's nice to know that the mainstream media, the fake news, are catching up with what's actually going on now. Although I've been talking about this for months on my Loving Life channel. And in The Citizen today, this is a classic example of what I've been saying for literally months on Loving Life. South Africa is among the most substantial pension assets in the world, even in US dollar terms. South Africa has far more pension assets than Germany or France. Never were you informed about this asset, as it funds South Africa and makes our median person the wealthiest in Africa. The fact that South Africa has the highest typical financial wealth in Africa does not suit the victim narrative. According to South African Reserve Bank data, in 2017, there were 17 million retirement accounts, representing between 11 million and 12 million individuals, with retirement assets estimated at Rand 6.6 trillion. 6.6 trillion Rand. The average adult pension saver has invested 576,000 Rand in the system. The typical person has about 340,000 Rand saved for their old age. The typical adult in the system is probably close to 50 years old and needs to save more, and then have the investment grow well above inflation to help make ends meet. With government having run out of options for funding itself and its state-owned enterprises, we now know that we have a very large asset. Never in a million years would government mention that this is one of the largest financial holdings in the world, and that black people own over 2/3 of it, as this would not suit the BEE or Black Economic Empowerment narrative. The typical person receiving this pension in South Africa, we know from BankServe Africa data, only gets 5,531 Rand in the bank account every month. The retirement annuity has to pay for medical insurance, water and lights and food, to name just a few essentials. So even the wealthiest African is not wealthy, but rather only able to just get by. That the typical pension saver has to bail out state-owned enterprises, often where the average pay is well above 800,000 Rand a year, means millions of lower-paid workers will fund a few thousand wealthy workers. Our country's president said 800 billion Rand is just 10% of our pensions and should not be a problem, as we need Eskom and other state-owned enterprises to grow. Well, it is a problem. Of course it's a friggin' problem. And the reasons why are largely listed below. Firstly, the money is that of millions of ordinary hard-working South Africans, most of them black, and they've already had a pension shortfall to maintain their lifestyle, as we can see from the BankServe Africa pension data. This money belongs to future pensioners, and we have seen what dud investments returns can do. Just look at the Transnet pensioners. They are now unable to stay in their houses with pensions that do not even cover their medical insurance, never mind food and water. The government and Transnet did not bail out these pensioners, and they were left to die in poverty, not being able to work anymore. One of my old Transnet bosses is staying in his kid's garage with his wife, earning food by looking after the grandchildren. Secondly, South African pension funds already sit with 2.1 trillion Rands worth of government and state-owned enterprises debt directly, and probably another trillion or so via the banking system. So nearly half of our money is invested in government and the development of the country. Taking another 800 billion Rand will mean that pensioners have more than reasonable exposure to a single subsector of an asset class, public debt. Moreover, the above will create a concentration risk, which often has fatal results for investors. Thirdly, the incentive is perverse, as state-owned enterprises are managed into financial ruin, and despite government having bailed them out numerous times, they continue to need copious amounts of cash. That's called black privilege, aka, or also known as, corruption and incompetency amongst the ANC cadre. That's why they drive around in Porsches and Maseratis and cars like that, because it's been stolen from said state-owned enterprises, etc., etc., etc. You get the idea. Rewarding failure with more money is like sentencing a murderer with a gift of extra guns. It does not make sense. Throwing money is not the solution when the whole system is rotten. Fourthly, we have not fixed the state-owned enterprises at all. For example, local prices of coal, of which Eskom is a monopoly buyer, have rocketed at more than double the inflation rate. Since April 2008, local coal prices have risen by 195%, while export coal prices only increased by, wait for it, 14%. So, guess who's gouging here? A coal mine in South Africa is selling coal to Eskom at an increase of 195% since 2008, but if they send that coal overseas, that increase since 2008 is just 14%. Guess who's paying for that difference? You. The total return, prices and dividends of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange was 151%, government earned 172%, and inflation was 85% over the same period. The increase in the local coal price screams corruption and has never been addressed, never mind prosecuted. Not one board has investigated this excessive increase in coal prices. Instead, this was promoted as successful commitment to black economic empowerment. Well, if that's the case, I have just one thing to say. The whole black economic empowerment system is corrupt, because clearly what you look at here is corruption. Allah. Yeah. When I say Allah, I mean it's like, whoa, it's like huge, it's like, yeah. So 11.5 million pensioners therefore risk losing part of their savings for 15,000 highly paid extra Eskom staff who are in excess of requirements, and a few people getting extremely rich on coal and transport contracts. Also, with many municipalities simply not paying more money, is not going to fix the income problem. The more money will plug a gap, and the need for municipalities to pay will be reduced. I repeat, get the costs under control and get those non-payers to pay. Our pension money will not fix these problems, but fixing these problems will save Eskom without extra money needed, as it will again make a profit. This is not rocket science, guys. I've been talking about this for months. You know that, on my channel. It's not rocket science. Moreover, not one government official has even asked the obvious question: why are the purchase prices for state-owned enterprises increasing that much faster than inflation? Why is the Competition Commission asleep on excessive pricing at state-owned enterprises? Since the arms deal, nothing has been done to curb excessive pricing to state-related institutions. While some state-owned enterprises have had many different boards, the fact that not one has publicly flagged excessive price increases speaks volumes about the stupidity, insider corruption, and probably careless attitudes that prevail. It's called BEE and black privilege, destroying the country. Before you can save any state-owned enterprise, you have to fix the apparent corruption, the overcharging, and the black economic empowerment deals that impoverish the majority of our population. Get it? That is the critical line in this whole piece. The black economic empowerment deals that impoverish the majority of our population. Because guess who's on the take in these deals? Yeah, the ANC cadres. Black privilege. This is where the whole system in South Africa stinks. It makes the sewer in Soweto seem like a beautiful, tranquil pond in the middle of the most beautiful garden in comparison. You know, that's how disgusting this is. Anyway, let's continue. The black economic empowerment deals that Eskom brags about in annual report after annual report has resulted in higher power prices for ordinary South Africans. We impoverish millions for the enrichment of the few, and we want to do so again. The above leads to the fifth point that is politically difficult to talk about. When does black economic empowerment make sense? Certainly not when it results in increasing prices for average South Africans. Certainly not when the result is less investment and fewer jobs. And look at the municipalities, guys. Chaos, absolute chaos. Government needs to side with the ordinary citizen. When and if black economic empowerment is required, it must make sure that value is added, not just extra costs. You cannot create growth and wealth when a few get rich by being inserted into the process that was already reasonably efficient. That is broad-based black disempowerment and impoverishment, at the expense of the very few black privileged. Lastly, we need a lot more transparency, on tenders especially, but also on pay levels within the state-owned enterprises. Now, I have to say there that they've actually made the process of challenging the results of a tender far more difficult. And they've done that so they can cement in place their mates who get the actual tender. Isn't that smart? This is happening right now in the government in South Africa. They're not learning, they're just dumbing down and getting more and more corrupt. It is absolutely extraordinary. They haven't learned a thing. Anyway, let's continue. Lastly, we need a lot more transparency on tenders especially, but also on pay levels within the state-owned enterprises. And the qualifications and experience of all management must be made public. No cadre employment. That's also known as black economic empowerment. And perhaps we should consider that no civil servant or state-owned enterprise employee above supervisor level may belong to a political party. Well, good luck with that. It's full of the ANC, all the way to the top. Also forget the secrecy thing, with state-owned firms publishing every tender result online with price, quantity, quality and ownership of the named winner. That this is a commercial secret stuff is a load of bullshit. It is. It's bullshit. It's protecting the black privileged. It allows the criminals to hide, and quite honestly, we the citizens are the owners of state-owned enterprises and the government, so tender results are in the public interest. They are unlikely to tell the market the internal secrets of the suppliers, just the price and quantity and ownership. Transparency prevents much corruption, as one can see what is going on. South African Airways was paying 17 Rand per bottle of water, and you know they only cost 10 Rand at the shop and 3 Rand at wholesale. I've raised this as an example so many times in the past. This is where you've got the scam, where what you have is you've got the wholesaler who would love to supply South African Airways direct at 3 Rand a bottle, but they can't because they're not black economic empowerment ratified. So what happens is a well-connected ANC cadre says, ding ding, I can make some money here. He's got some mates at South African Airways in procurement, so he says, I'll set up a shelf company. So he sets up a shelf company called, let's say, XYZ. And he goes and sees his mates at procurement in South African Airways and said, look, I'm BEE compliant. It's my company. I will supply you that bottled water at 17 Rand per bottle. And because he's a mate of the procurement officer, the deal is done. So just for being like the agency through which the bottled water runs, he doesn't ever pay a cent for it. He's getting 14 Rand for every single bottle that actually is ordered by South African Airways. They're paying a premium of something like 500% on every bottle of water they buy because of black economic empowerment and this little nebulous shelf company run by an ANC cadre. Now, this sort of shit is going on all over South Africa in thousands of areas. It would make you sick if you knew how this was happening all over the place. It's absolutely disgusting. And as I always say, John and Ndlovu, you know, the little guy, black guy in Soweto, there's no chance in a million years he could ever become one of these black privilege guys, because guess what? He's not in the right circles. That's how the system works. This whole BE thing is not about empowering the wider black population. It's about enriching the well-connected. It's that simple. It's called simples. Disgusting. Every contract awarded must be published in full in public, and the regular checks on the attainment of goals must be published too. Not addressing the real operational problems will not result in better transport, electricity, water or roads. Funding state-owned enterprises or development without the above will result in less in terms of returns and outright losses for our pension funds, and impoverish millions of honest ordinary citizens for the connected few. That's what I've been saying for months, guys. Got to admit it. Now the mainstream media have just cottoned on and they're saying, whoa, this guy's got a point, and they've just put it into an article. You heard it first here on Loving Life. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed and ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video, please share this video, and above all, please stay safe.